Well, g'day fishers. Welcome back to our weekly fishing report. And, the week's been terrible, but I tell you what, next week, if you've got some sickies up your sleeve, don't tell your boss, get into it. It's going to be a cracker of a week next week. I've looked at the forecast and it is sensational, and I won't be here to go and enjoy it. But anyway, I'm going to go to a tackle world meeting and check out some new products, which I'm pretty happy about. It's always good to go and play with some new tackle. Just don't play with anybody else's tackle, just play with your own. That's what I say. But anyway, so I'm off to AFTA next week to check out all the new stuff from Shimano, Daiwa, Tomic and whatever, the whole shebang. So looking forward to it. There you go. But if you're keen on getting out fishing next week, then from Sunday through to at least Wednesday, Thursday, looking at long cast report, looks absolutely sensational. And yeah, definitely get out there and have a crack. So, like I always do, we get in the bay. There's plenty of bream around, some absolute cracking bream around. Wayne Cole's got some really nice bream during the week up around the rock walls there, Soldiers Point. It's that time of year where those bream are gathered up that way, and especially after all that rain we've had, it's definitely flushed them right down the port there. So throwing plastics up that way, the Z-Man Slim Swims, we've got a full rack of those in stock at the moment. The Creature Baits by Daiwa, Bait Junkies, they work really well. And my favourite, the 2-inch gulp shrimp, you can't beat them. All those plastics will work really well on those bream at the moment. You've just got to downsize your leader. Some days 4-pound to 6-pound fluorocarbon, lighter jig heads, 1/16th, 1/20th ounce jig heads, and away you go. Or if you like slow rolling hard bodies, those rolling cranks in the Daiwas are working really well too. So give those a crack at the moment. So plenty of bream around up towards Soldiers Point way. Like I said, if you enjoy your bait fishing, the Anchorage Wall's fishing really well, so too Nelson Bay Wall for a few brimbos, fishing quite nicely. Wanda Head's also worth a shot as well. If you've got the tinny there, I'd head over towards the shortcut there at Tea Gardens, always a good one on the incoming tide. But you've got to fish the incoming tide there because the water on the run out's pretty dark and cold, so those brim will feed better on the run-in tide. Plenty of Ludrics still about, the Luddos, the Anchorage Breakwell, heaps of them there, right on the corner there, and definitely down Nelson Bay. Well, Nelson Bay Breakwell standing room only. If you're keen on fishing that high tide, you can fish Little Beach, the wheelchair wharf there, and also Shoal Bay Wharf's got a few Ludric on the high tide as well, but you just got to stop them from going around the pylons there. So plenty of Ludric around if you're keen on that. A couple of mulloway around caught this week. Harley's been actually fishing hardbody lures at night and getting some really nice mulloway. Saw some great photos there. So well done, Harley, especially at night and especially on hardbody. So he's definitely figured those fish out, that's for sure. So that's the bay in a nutshell at the moment. There's actually a couple of salmon around in the bay chasing bait and a couple of tailor. I wouldn't say they're in big numbers of salmon, but they're definitely there. If you guys spinning for tailor, have got a surprise when they've hooked a salmon. So definitely worth a shot there, that's for sure. So that's the bay in a nutshell. It'll fish pretty good, I think, come Sunday, Monday when those winds turn to the north there. In fact, it'll fish exceptionally well, that's for sure. The beaches and the rocks, well, it's been a little bit hit and miss, unfortunately, because that bigger swell, but that swell's backing off. I think we're going to have a little bit of swell into Saturday, but I think Sunday will be the pick of it. Definitely worth a shot throwing some spinners, some metal spinners, or even those Jackson muscle shots. We just got some back in, so they're walking out the door, but those muscle shots have been working really well, especially on bigger salmon and tailor up Fingal Way on the spit there. So plenty of good tailor and salmon up that way, plenty of bream around as well. Most of the beaches are going to be like that at the moment, those winter species, and especially the salmon. So give those a crack. I think the southern corners will fish earlier in the weekend better. And then obviously, like I said, Sunday when the swell backs off, those more open beaches will be a little bit more successful. Now off the rocks, some really nice snapper around. And speaking of those muscle shots, had a customer actually casting one off the rocks at Fisherman's Bay and got a really nice red 65 centimetres on a lure, on a hard body lure. So anything will eat a good hard body lure these days. So fishing for tailor and salmon gets a 65 centimetre snapper. So pretty good effort, that's for sure. So I reckon there'll be some good snap around off the rocks there. Whether you want to throw a bait in, whether you want to throw a pilly in, or even throw some soft plastics around, you will get some reds. Plenty of drum around this time of year, so it is drummer season. There's also plenty of bream there too. So I'll be sort of looking at Boulder Bay, either the south or the north. There's plenty of room there, so you can always find a spot on your own. Downboat Hardway gets a little bit crowded at the weekends, but you can always find a nice spot, first light or last light, down that way as well. 1 Mile Point's got plenty of Ludric on it and also a few tailors, so some good fishing around at the moment off the rocks. Now, There was a tiny little window to get out offshore this week, and there was plenty of snapper around. Spoke to my good mate Adam. He actually got a 90 centimetre red on a soft plastic on a good old gulp. So absolute beauty of a fish. And I think what you'll find is the snapper are going to definitely ramp up, especially next week with that good weather. So definitely worth a shot on the snapper. Out in the deeper water, there's been plenty of smaller fish around that sort of 50 to 60 centimetres. On the back of the 21 there and about 40 metres. So definitely worth a shot. And with this calm weather coming, just drift around. What I like to do, put a ball sinker on, size 2, size 3 ball sinker, throw a pilly way out the back there and just let it slowly sink down. Even though you're in 40 metres, snapper will come up and nail those pillies up off the bottom. So a bit like fishing soft plastics, but a really good technique, that's for sure. So some good fishing about. Did hear a whisper of a couple of yellowfin. Spoke to a local longliner. He was fishing that 1,500 fathom mark wide of the shelf there. That was a little bit earlier in the week there. He said he got some fish around that 30, 40 kilos. Wouldn't say it's consistent, but it might be worth a look. I have to have a look at rip charts and that altimetry, but it might be worth a look. Getting into August is traditionally when we start to see some yellowfin action, so definitely might be worth a look. Allmark would definitely be worth a look next week with this calm weather. It's that time of year when the kings gather on Allmark as well. There'll be a few bar cod around, and usually get a John Dory this time of year. So if you can get those little live yakkers and send them down, you will find there's a couple of John Dory out in that deeper water around Allmark at this time of year. So all in all, the fishing's looking really good and the weather's looking sensational. So like I said, if you've got a bit of a cough or a cold, next week's going to be it to take the sickie. Anyway, sorry for about all the bosses on one of those, but anyway, you've got to go fishing. Talk to you next week.